Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use Tableau to build those visualizations that we put together in our Excel. So it should give us the same kind of things. So first thing we want to do is we want to go to source data. And we're going to pull it from a file. I'm going to pull it from Microsoft Excel. And so I'm going to use this supermarket transactions. This is the file that we use to make everything that's going on. And you will see that if you open up that, and let's go back to where is our, this is the sheet that we worked on. We had a prompt, data, and summary tables. And so now if we go into Tableau, you'll see data, prompt, and summary table. So it's the same sheets. And so basically the screen's asking us which data do you want to use. So we're just going to grab the data, which is our raw stuff. We're going to drag the table up here, and you're going to see that the sheet populates. And these are all the same cells as we had in Excel. In fact, and down here it's going, hey, let's go to worksheet and start working. So let's do that. So let's go to sheet 1. And now you're going to see this is our base Tableau function window. Okay, so a couple of important things to point out here. This is the field where we basically make tables and charts and graphs and all that fun stuff. We have a field here that'll correspond up here to rows and columns. And so what we want to do is we're going to start with question number 2, the income. So I'm just going to rename this to Q2 table. And so that first one was about the annual income. So I'm going to drag that in here. I can drag it to rows right there, or I can just drop it right up in the top of the rows here. And so notice it brought in all of those bins for annual income and actually put them in the right order, unlike Excel. Now what we want to do is we want to count the number of instances that we had. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to take annual income. I'm going to drop it into text. This is the marks field, which allows you to play around with different things in the table. And once I do that, you can see that, hey, it added in this. Basically, it's just the text again. So I want it to actually count. So this is called a pill. I'm going to go over to the pill. I'm going to hit the radio drop down. And it gives me some different options. And so I'm going to go to measure. And when I go to measure, you can see that maximum, minimum, count, count, distinct. So count. And so there we go. Now we've got the count of all of those income brackets, and they're all the exact same as what we had out of Excel. So now I can also change this to the measure of the percentage, and Tableau does really cool stuff. So if you go in here, once we've got the count in, you'll notice some new options have popped up. And one's table calculation, but quick table calculation gives you a lot of these things that you will normally end up looking for. And we can sit there and we've got just all these different options, percentage of total. And there we go. It automatically gives us the percentage of total, just like we had in the Excel chart. Okay, so now let's go look at the graph. We'll make a separate one here, and we'll rename this. It's important to keep these sheets kind of named too, so we know what's going on. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do that bar chart to give us our little histogram. So annual income, I'll just drag it up here to rows. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab the annual income and I'm going to drop it into this ABC where it says show me. Why am I going to do that? Well, I drop that in, and so now I've got this kind of weird thing going on. It's like, okay, so you want to make a chart with 2 different categories. Not quite. Let's do that count again. So if I come up to the pill, right click on that, go to measure, go to count, and boom, there we go. It gives us a bar chart showing us that skewed distribution that we had. Now we can also sit here and if we flip these around, actually that didn't work. I wanted to do that and flip there. I can quickly change the X and Y values. And this is where Tableau really kills Excel because it makes awesome charts really quick and you're able to do a lot of stuff with them. And so just like Excel, we can sit here, right click on this, go to edit axis. Instead of count of annual income, I think we called this frequency. I think that's mostly spelled right. And we can play around with the options in here. You can go into the tick marks and change where the intervals are. So tick marks are just kind of the how things have been together. And so we go back here and we come down here. We've got all these bin values. We can sit there and go edit axis. You can change, sorry, edit alias. We can change the numbers. We can just play around with a lot of things. Notice too, when I click on the data, it really just highlights that one little bit of data. So this is where Tableau is much cooler than Excel, because you can do an awesome numerical analysis in Excel. Tableau gives you really quick and good looking graphs pretty easily. Okay, so let's finish this off quickly. Let's look at our two last parts. So question 3, table. Question 3 was asking revenue per city. So once again, we're just going to grab city. You can either drop it here into rows or up here. Either way works just fine. There's my cities all put together. And so now what we want to do is revenue. Now you'll notice that revenue is not listed up here, but it's listed down here. You'll also notice there's a line, and this is greenish, this is bluish. So what's going on? Why is it doing that? Well, that line is separating our numerical data from our categorical data. This is up here in the blue. This is all our categorical data. Down here, this is all the stuff that math has been applied to. So this is our numerical data. Once again, it's important to remember there is a big difference between the two of those. So we've got that hatch symbol there, and we can see revenue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it into the text box to add in, and there we go. And so what has that done? That's given us the sum of the revenue, because this is all data, all numbers that things can be done with. And you can see on the measure, we've got a bunch of different things. It defaults to sum, which is what we want, which is great. So there we go. There is that table that we made. What is great about this is we can sit there, and up here we get the buttons that we can quickly sort things, and actually a little bit quicker than we could in Excel. So we played around with that. And so the last thing for completeness, let's do that last table. So I'm just going to rename this as Q3 table, and this will be the table version that we've done. Oh, Q3 table already worked. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a chart, not a table. And so we're going to do the exact same thing. We are going to bring over our cities, which is how our different revenues were broken down, is by city. Okay, and so now we're going to do the same thing. We can take our sum of revenue. Now, I drop it in there. You'll notice I didn't point this out before, but it does say show me there. What is that? That is, as you saw from the tutorials, Tableau's got a lot of, it tries to guess what your graphs are going to be. And so it gives you a bunch of different ways that you could possibly do that. Now, if I take revenue and I drop it in here, it's going to give it to me a table. It's guessing incorrectly. That's not what I wanted. If I take revenue and I drag it up into columns, it is going to give me what I want, because I knew I was going to want to do revenue versus columns. But the other thing is, let's say that you did drag revenue in here and it didn't give you what you wanted. If you click up here on show me, it will show you all the different things that it can do. You can click on it to get a preview of what it'll look like. So we are just going to go right with that column chart, and notice it dropped the sum right up in there. Now we can do this the exact same way as everything else. We can click and we can sort and organize it, which is awesome. Once again, this is a lot quicker than Excel. We can play with things with titles and whatnot. And once again, if I click on it, notice that it highlights everything else down. Now, if I hold Control, I can select a couple different ones. So I've got 3 of them there, because if you remember correctly, we were looking for the top 3 stores. And so those would be our 3 stores that we had in our Excel example. So this is wonderful. We can look at it, but of course we click off if it goes away. But we want to show that top 3 constantly. So what do? Let's go back in here. I'm going to hold Control. I'm going to select the 3 of those. And I got the little paper clip. It means I'm going to group them. I'm going to throw them together. Now they're grouped. And notice that Tableau automatically assigns a different color to them. So as I click off, it goes away. Let's get rid of this. We don't need this right now, so we won't show. I'm going to hide that card. But now what I have is, once again, by quickly looking at something, I can go, oh, they're my top 3. It stands out, because that's what we care about for this one. So that's why it's just important. Data visualization allows you to see things quickly and have a big impact. And once again, this is the wonderful thing about Tableau is they're very, very good at quickly making pretty pictures and pictures that are impactful, because you can look at this and there's no question what the top 3 stores are. Even though you have the big bars there anyway, they're differently color coded. Okay, so that was another way of solving problem 2. Not expecting the other examples to be this long. I'm just trying to show you in the beginning all the different ways that you can do it. So we will move on to the next problem.